By almost every measure, Shenseea should be one of the biggest stars Jamaica has produced in decades. She has the talent, she has the look, she has the work ethic, she understands the camera. She had major label backing, major collaborations and producers. She's done everything you're supposed to do. And yet, nearly after a decade of pushing at that door, the one record that changes everything, it still hasn't come. The record that takes a successful Jamaican artist and makes her into an international superstar. So what's missing? Maybe nothing. Maybe the problem isn't Shenseea at all. Maybe the problem is we're asking one artist to do what an entire Jamaican music industry used to accomplish. Because when Jamaica was producing international hits in the 90s, nobody did it alone. I'm Henry Kay. In 1991, I moved to Kingston, Jamaica, with a dream of producing reggae music and changing the world. Over the decades, I worked with many of the legends I grew up listening to. Bob Andy, Deadly Headley Bennett, Eddie Fitzroy. As for changing the world, well, that's still a work in progress. Welcome to Rootsland Nation.
Stories that are music to your ears.
Rootsland Nation, you know the channel test.
When I was working and producing records during that period, dancehall music was ubiquitous. From Brooklyn to Kingston, and seemingly every little town in between, dancehall was booming. Out of cars, clubs, restaurants, street corners, you couldn't escape it. You couldn't escape new music. Every week another rhythm, another singer, another DJ, another tune everybody was talking about. But here's what I think that people forgot. We remember the stars: Shaba, Buju, Nadine, Terra, Luciano, Wayne Wonder. But those artists didn't develop by themselves. They came out of camps. Penthouse, Exterminator, Madhouse, Shocking Vibes. And they were more than record labels. They were ecosystems. Producers, musicians, engineers, managers, and more importantly, other artists. Because imagine walking into Penthouse or Madhouse in the 90s with 5 other killer DJs and singers that just voiced on the same rhythm. That competition matters. Maybe Wayne Wonder comes up with a melody you hadn't thought of. Maybe Buju answers a hook. Maybe Dave Kelly listens to your tune, says, "No, it's not ready. Come back again." Or maybe you think you've just voiced the hottest song on the rhythm until someone else walks into that booth and destroys what you've done. And suddenly you realize you got to go back and rewrite it, refine it, re-record it, come up with something better. A better hook, a better melody, a better way of approaching the rhythm. That's what we call development. And that happened before the public even knew your name. That old Jamaican studio hierarchy, it could be brutal. It could be unfair. And I'm certainly not going to romanticize everything about the Jamaican music business in the 90s. But it had something we were missing today. Standards. And every day someone there to remind you when you hadn't reached them. And that's the world that artists like Shenseea never got to come up in. And even after you got into the studio, you still weren't finished. Because now the music still had to survive the dance. And a producer might voice 10 artists on one rhythm. 10 songs, 10 hooks, 10 different approaches. And maybe the producer thought he knew which one was the hit. But Jamaica decided. The selectors, the dancers, the clubs, the radio. 10 songs go out, and somewhere in Kingston, one of those songs gets pulled up twice, then 3 times. Then every selector wants it. The record separates itself from the pack. Action, Who Am I, Murder, She Wrote, Telephone Love. These weren't Jamaican artists sitting around a room trying to calculate what the American market wanted. They were making music for a dancehall culture that was already on fire. And when one of those records became undeniable hit in Jamaica, well, sometimes the rest of the world simply just caught up. And somewhere along the way, that ecosystem fractured. The camps became smaller. The teams got smaller. Musicians disappeared from many of the sessions. The dance stopped being the same testing ground. And technology gave the artists the ability to make records almost anywhere. Something valuable disappeared with all that freedom. The room full of people you had to beat. Which brings me back to Shenseea. And I keep wondering, what happens if you take an artist with that much talent, that much ambition, that much presence, and put her into a room like Penthouse or Madhouse or Shocking Vibes in the 90s. 5 other artists already voiced on the rhythm and Dave Kelly behind the glass. One of those 5 tunes is wicked, and now Shenseea has to step in the booth and go beat it. And then do the same thing tomorrow. Do it again. Constant voicing, hits and misses, combinations, competition, people throwing ideas back and forth, other young artists climbing the same ladder at the same time. Imagine 10 years of that. And no one can say whether that would have given Shenseea that international breakthrough. But it makes me wonder whether we're asking the wrong question. Maybe the question isn't, why hasn't Shenseea made that record? Maybe it's what happened to the Jamaican music culture that used to produce those records. Because Shenseea isn't the problem. In some ways, she's the proof. Here's an artist doing almost everything the modern music business tells her to do. And she's searching for that one record that changes everything. That great Jamaican crossover records, they weren't created by artists sitting around and asking, how do we cross over? They were making records for Jamaica, for the dances, for the sound systems, against other artists fighting to kill that same rhythm. And when one record started separating itself from the pack, the selectors knew. The DJs knew. The radio stations knew. Everybody knew. And eventually the rest of the world would find out. Hits were discovered by the streets, not manufactured in the boardroom.